Just do
You wouldn't how to torrent the computer.
Well, the thing is, it's really hard to scam the IKEA Corporation because you need to know how to spell Schulgenflagen.
That's true. That would be what. Hi, everybody. We're live.
That's what Google Translate is for.
You just missed everybody
Use
watching.
the internet.
Everybody watching, you just missed our very in-depth and detail-filled, and I hopefully I'll find it quite useful discussion on how to scam the IKEA Corporation out of free furniture.
What I was trying to say is it's been hard to build. It's been hard to build a computer the last couple of years because of the whole NFT craze. You know, basically every GPU on the internet being bought with these giant warehouses where you just have thousands of GPUs constantly whirring. And now, finally, that's died down. So you're starting to see these things on the market again. You can actually get those parts now and build a computer finally. But I was just going to say one of the most important things. One of the more important things is RAM. You know, the more RAM you have, the better. Thankfully, RAM sticks, they're like 8 gigs each, are pretty cheap, and they come in like 2-packs now. So if your computer has 4 slots, use 4 sticks.
Unfortunately, mine only has 2 slots.
I feel so old.
Yeah, you go down to Vegas, play the sluts.
Dana Cole,
put those sticks in those sluts.
Dana Cole, I remember Windows 3.1. Who here remembers 3.1?
Oh yeah, my first Windows computer was Windows 3.1.
I remember DOS 2.0.
Moving through DOS.
And before that,
old.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And before that, it was a PDP 8, either an 8A or an 8M, running 32 kilobytes of magnetic core memory.
Okay, that beat me. My earliest PDP was the PDP 11.
We did a lot of stuff with PDP. Like we started out with the 1123.
How hard was it to program it with those punch cards?
128
the punch cards,
of memory.
I thought it was like a
before that, I have a cousin who just retired and he worked with ENIAC.
Well, my first automation job, we're working on this thing. It was a Mod Comp Classic 4. And it was a mini computer, and back when those still existed, and so if it was
mini computer, and yet it's like
it was huge,
laptop.
and when the because minis were the bridge between mainframes and workstations, and so this thing was like the program we were doing was in Fortran, which I learned in college, and to compile a program took 15 minutes and link it took 15 minutes. So then when we later on moved on to Microvacs, which was the newer mini computers, compiling was like 2 seconds and linking was
Microvacs, microdosing of vaccine.
15 seconds. Yeah, Microvacs 4100 we got.
The Microvacs, when we first got a Microvacs too, boy, did that change the lay of the land. Those things, I mean, by comparison with a PDP, the fastest PDP 11 we had, which I think was the 1173, the Microvacs 2 just, ran away and hid from it.
Yeah.
Isaiah, your hand's been up for a little bit. What you got?
Okay, so remember in the Ask Away, Steve, that sometimes I bring up the fan fiction
yes
podcast?
Yes.
I want to I guess give you like a 30-second like this is how I do it. This is how I do my money.
That's the way we do it.
Okay, shut up and let him talk. Let him tell the story.
Okay, so
you cannot shut up, Bell.
Hello, everybody. This is the Late Scene Podcast. I am Jason Harding, and I am Steve Shives. And we take a classic movie and we give it a look. We give it a whiff to see if it's classic, not classic, or just a little bit And today's movie, we are doing the 1997 smart science fiction movie Contact by Robert Zemeckis. Now, this is me being like Jason and saying,
okay,
now this is a movie where it's like it's supposed to be smart and we're not blowing up the aliens with guns. This is that movie, right? So this is the movie that they're trying to talk to the aliens instead of blowing them up, like they did in Independence Day. Although that they kind of tried to blow us. Okay.
Hey, the aliens started it. They were asked.
It sounds like
look at the way they were dressed.
You
They
got
had
Jason's
it
voice pretty
coming.
close.
They had it coming.
Okay, so starring Jodie Foster as Dr. Eleanor Ann Arroway. I don't need to explain who's Jodie Foster, do I? No. Okay, moving on. Matthew McConaughey as Thomas Joss. David Morse as Theodore Arroway. Tom Skerritt as David Drumlin. James Woods. Oh God, James Woods.
Yes.
James Woods is the resident asshole.
That's
It's
totally
Michael
what
Kidd.
Jason would say.
John Hurt as SR Head. John Hurt, he's British television. He has that sinister science fiction English voice, you know. William Fichtner as Kent Clark. I almost said Clark Kent there. I don't need to tell you who he's in. Angela Bassett as Rachel Constant. Angela Bassett was recently in Black Panther. She was also in the 911 series about firefighters. Jake Busey as Joseph. That's the religious nut. Rob Lowe is an actor. I think he was in 90210 as Richard Rank. Jeffrey Blake as Fisher. Max Martini as Willie. Stephen Ford as Major John Russell. Jay Leno, Larry King, and Ann Druin as himself. Now, Zemeckis had this weird knack of trying to incorporate real life stuff into his movie. You know, he did that with Forrest Gump. And then he would do it with
Back to the Future was famously realistic.
It was basically a documentary.
So okay, hold on. So budget $90 million, runtime 150 minutes. Box office $171 million. So it made its money, and it became a classic science fiction movie of the 90s. So many of them were.
This is so close.
So where do we begin, Stan? Well, we begin.
Okay, I want to.
And we get one of those like scenes of like the universe.
Okay, Isaiah, I want to stop you before you go through the whole movie, but we get a good taste of it, and I think that's fantastic.
Okay.
It's so
I
close.
need to say this is not a dig at Isaiah, but like if someone like makes Planet Ripple fan fiction on my characters, fine. But if someone ever makes a fan fiction of me, I'm checking out. I can't do this anymore.
So
actually,
I should not tell you about the multiple pornos I've written and starred in as you.
Oh God.
So I
okay.
actually,
I'll let it slide this time.
I actually brought up. I told
Jason
one of them. I told Jason about your late seating fanfic, Isaiah, and I think Dana, you were on the call with us because it was during a late seating recording. And I told Jason about it, and I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly. Jason's exact reaction was, "What?" So what? I was like, "No, but it's." I'm like, I think it sounds pretty cool, you know. And it's like, so yeah, because it's like I've said before, like it's of the two podcasts we do, it's not the one you would think people would write fanfic of. You'd think people would do the Star Trek one, but so I think it's fantastic, and you totally have Jason's
right.
Oh, well, checked AO3 for late.
I haven't. No, I haven't checked. I haven't checked.
Part I was gonna throw in a Taxi Driver reference too. Like if when you're watching the movie and like John Hurt is like explaining her bio, and then like Jodie Foster adds, "Well, I was also selling my cooch in New York City, but then this wacko taxi driver came and rescued me from a pimp. So then I decided to talk to aliens after that. So that's my resume."
You got to use that Jodie Foster Taxi Driver connection for sure. But I mean, you have Jason's introduction down pat. Like that sounds like exactly like he would say it.
There are certain Shives over on AO3. The closest you come is for Star Trek Voyager, and it's G-rated.
You need a little more snark.
There are several people who have threatened to include me in their Star Trek Voyager fanfic. And I do take it as a threat. I take it as a threat. I'm like, don't you?
Obviously, you'd show up in a hologram.
Now, if they talked about putting you in their DS9 fanfic, that wouldn't necessarily be a threat.
No, not at all. I mean, I'd probably die, but I'd be happy to be in the story.
Don't
let
tell
him
me you
wear a
haven't
red
already
shirt.
written yourself into DS9. I mean,
And on top of that, I also did a like another fanfic of Jason and Steve where I so since Steve likes movies from the Apollo the space race, the Apollo program and stuff.
Yeah.
You and so in the fanfic, you and Jason debate the difference between Apollo 13 and the now you already did a late seeing podcast episode on Apollo 13, but I'm using that episode, and then it's like a debate between that and First Man, which was the Neil Armstrong story, and I was debating about how First Man is the superior movie over Apollo 13.
I agree with you about that. I do think First Man is a better movie than Apollo 13.
Yeah,
I agree with you about that.
Because like with Apollo 13. Yeah, it's like when I watched the movie after listening to the podcast, there is this sense of kind of like it's this like yippee thing, and but when you watch First Man, you don't get that, right? Like there's no rousing soundtrack in First Man. All the colors are shot very muted in that movie, and I know this because I just went through film school. But like so yeah, it's like with Apollo 13, it's just this weird.
I mean, my problem with like Apollo, I think I said this in the show that we did, but like this.
By the way, I'm posting a link to it in the Discord right now.
Oh, cool.
Not Discord,
the chat. But this has been my take on Apollo 13 for many years, which is that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it as a movie. It's a fine movie. But I mean, when you think about the actual Apollo 13, like the events that the movie is inspired by, like that's one of the most incredible things that ever happened. And the movie is like just a pretty good movie. So it feels like there's some, you know what I mean? It's like this movie should be like. How dare you
criticize Tom Hanks that way? He is our national treasure.
Tom Hanks was terrific. Tom Hanks was terrific, but it's like this movie should. Like this movie should be. That's true. 2 years in a row, they reteamed. It was like, you like Tom Hanks and Gary Sinise, huh? Well, here they come again. They're the De Niro and Pesci of the '90s.
Can I use this as a segue to talk about Tron?
I would love for you to talk about Tron.
Nice. I did a full Yori cosplay at Comic-Con, and this picture is super fucking awkward, but
oh my god,
it's still really cool. Yeah.
Wow. Outstanding.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's probably like the nicest and chattiest celebrity that I've ever encountered.
That is so cool.
Yeah, no, it was like because he was talking about his role in the Orville and how it was like really inspired by Andreas Katsoulis and
oh wow,
oh sure, because he's got the makeup this time. Yeah,
exactly. And like he like saw my costume and was just like started going on about how dumb he thought that deleted Tron sex scene was. It's like sure,
wow.
Cool. Like, it's just like going on about all sorts of like random shit and everything. Like, it's super, super nice.
That's awesome.
We did get autographs too.
Box light,
nice.
Hell yeah! That it's like I'm so torn about him on the Orville because I love the fact that he's on the Orville this year and that and it's perfect because like he's playing the president of the Union, and it's like of course he is because he was fucking Sheridan in Babylon 5, but he's an alien, so it's like they bury him behind all this alien makeup, and it's
shit.
And I'm like, can't he just be Bruce Boxleitner?
I know.
It sure was nice of Disney to whip up an entire second
Steve.
movie to go along with Daft Punk's new album.
But as soon as he talks, you know it's him. It's like oh that's Bruce Boxleitner, all right, baby. But it's like but it's really cool that he's in the show, you know.
Yeah, apparently he had somebody who was following around with like eye drops like every like couple hours. Like it was like it's brutal, like being in all that makeup.
Yeah.
Okay,
I also
wanted to remind myself who he was, and a very, very 80s picture of him came up.
There are some very questionable pictures of him.
What Scarecrow and what's his?
Scarecrow. And
right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about him with the blown out 80s blonde hair there.
Oh sure, that was the 80s.
He was also talking about how there was like they thought during that Tron sex scene they were going to have them not be wearing helmets and have hair, but they had like. There's this ridiculous picture. It's probably the one that you're looking at.
I love the creative decisions that were made. Like they had to have like producers meetings. Okay, for the sex scene, do they take the helmets off? Do they leave them on? What's underneath the helmet? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, they're computer programs. They have to like think of it or like come up with sort of things. Would it be computer-esque or would they be bulbs?
It was a digital.
And then the second movie showed us that they all have normal hair.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, part of it is, you know, Tron was what, 1982?
Yeah,
like and a lot of the special effects were, you know, very innovative, and they were doing things that hadn't really been done in that way before. So, you know, a lot of it is because of that. But one of my favorite things about Tron is how like the whole computer program conceit kind of comes across as a little half-ass. Like it's like they're clearly just people in costumes, and everybody's like, no, we're computer programs.
I have a theory about Tron. I have a theory about Tron, and I think that Steven Lisberger had a very interesting mushroom trip, and came up with this, because when you look at like when you're on mushrooms, everything kind of has this hazy glow to it, and you also like have this like.
No, watching Star Trek, I think that's just the way they shot things.
I mean, look, in any
like
story,
give me high for Star Trek motion picture. I'm there.
Madeline, will you finish that off?
Yeah, but make sure it's the extended version, you know, because at least the extended version makes some degree of sense.
Yeah.
Basically, I was saying that you just like you start to really personify like inanimate objects, and like really are like, oh, this plant has feelings. So I could see somebody doing mushrooms and be like, my computer has feelings. They're like little people running around, and then Tron was born. Like that's my theory.
And then Tron was literally born.
Well, look, it's been a sci-fi trope for who knows how long, that if we could make sentient programs, they would emulate human psychology, and so they would naturally want to look like a human face or a whole human body or whatever. Because
that would just be self-defense to keep us from killing them. Oh, they're alive? They're obviously going to try and kill us. We got to kill them first.
I thought one of the smarter takes on that was the way they handled it in Her, where the like the operating system dates a human for a little while and then eventually grows beyond it and is like, no, I'm seeing this other computer program now, and I'm not really, I can't really relate.
I'm no longer into you.
I've moved on.
Here's the thing that gets me though. As someone who does automation and controls and stuff like that for a living, I do not understand this obsession that people seem to have with making our automatons human-like. And this obsession with, you know, of like the singularity, the technical singularity. Like the whole point of having machines do things is that they can do they're more reproducible than human work. Yeah, they don't, you know, that I mean, while they need maintenance, you know, they don't have human needs, you know, and that's the advantage. That's why you use it. Otherwise, if you want something that's like a person, use fucking people.
Right.
People, they exist. If you want something that's like a human, there's nothing more like a human than a fucking human.
I think there are interesting ways
humans have like these emotions, and they ask you not to hit them. I mean,
you're not supposed to.
It's a drag.
Look, I do think there are interesting ways to do it. Like in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, you know, humanity is ended by this program who's not your usual Skynet. They genuinely hate us. And they go on all these diatribes about how the endless depth of their disgust for us and how they delight in our suffering. But then you have the inverse of that, where now and then, this is something I haven't seen tempted much, but stories about a program that either thinks it's human because it's delusional, or it somehow basically worships humanity and wants to elevate us and help us evolve, but takes it to a fanatical degree that ends up destroying us anyways.
Which is interesting, because that's usually, you know, if you worship something, usually it doesn't need help because you have it, you know, elevated in some way. It's like, it can help.
More like they worship the idea of us, of what we can be,
of what you could. Man, these humans are so cool. Imagine if they could achieve their full potential. Let's help them.
And that makes sense. But again, it's like, and also this idea. There's so many people like futurists, which futurists. If you see somebody and they're labeled a futurist, they're idiots and they don't know what they're talking about. So don't talk. They don't pay. Don't want
I
attention to
agree.
anything. Like Elon Musk is a perfect example. Everyone's like, oh, he's a great engineer. No, he's not an engineer. He's a degree in physics, and he clearly doesn't even understand like basic physics.
No, he's a moron.
So
I thought he invented space travel.
He doesn't understand the first and second law of thermodynamics.
He invented space travel and electric cars. What are you talking about?
And that Mitsuo Kaku,
Wernher von Braun, that's what he thinks he is.
Even Mitsuo Kaku, who's the astrophysicist, he's like gone way off into like La La Land. He's a fucking moron. But the thing is, what gets me is like this idea that we're like 5 minutes away from the technical singularity. If it's even possible, we are so fucking far away from it. But it's, again, this is a human conceit that, wow, we're going to make this thing. And it's like, no, we're not. I mean, I seriously doubt that that's ever going to happen. But even if it does, we're not near it at all. Not even close.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk has a habit of proposing technological advances that wouldn't actually do anybody any good, even if he was able to achieve them.
Technological advances that are worse versions of things we invented 50 years ago.
Yeah. Anyone here
he invented a worse subway. He invented holes.
He invented a word. What if it's a subway, but just one car at a time? Why is that better than a subway?
Anyone here ever read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream or played the game?
I've known about it for years, but I've never read it.
Let me read you just one quote from the AI's perspective, speaking to the last few humans that he's only kept alive to torture them for centuries. It says, hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits and wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro instead for you. Hate.
Yeah, okay. Wow. That was one of the parts where I was just like, blah, 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 blah. You caught me monologuing. I can't believe it.
It's like,
he's okay, buddy. I get it. You hate us. All right.
It's like a Jonathan Edwards sermon.
It's like he hates humans so much that it's like, I'm going to bore you to tears. I'm going to be really annoying and boring because I hate you.
It really, I mean, just that little bit, it seriously reminded me of Sinners in the Hand of an Angry God, because there's like sinners, because it just, that anyone who's ever read that sermon, like it just goes on for pages, and it's just Jonathan Edwards imagining God.
You are like a spider. Bug. Like, you're a bug.
Going into all this,
dangling over the fiery pit, and all God's got to do is.
That's what I mean about
all this gross
fanatical. You can tell just by reading that shit.
Going into all this gross detail about how much God hates us, and it's like, dude, are you all right?
But that's what I mean about robots becoming every bit as fanatical as the humans they were based on.
And the way you respond to that is very simple. You catch his attention, you look him square in the eye, you stand up, turn on your heel, and leave.
I'm out of here, robot.
Not necessarily an option.
I mean, this is reminding me of Space Above and Beyond. I don't know if anyone has seen
I remember that. I've never seen it.
I've been watching that
long time ago.
Where like the whole plot is like humans create AIs, and then the AIs turn on humans, and then in response humans create like clones to fight the AIs, and now like the clones also hate people. It's like, what did you expect?
Maybe robots ever become sentient, they're just going to say, you guys are kind of weird, we're going to go over there and do our own thing, bye.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably how it would go.
Absolutely.
It would totally be like a the cat who ate the cheese situation, but like everything that every additional layer would eventually hate us.
Yeah, it's by far the most realistic science fiction series that I've ever seen. Also,
I hate you, Vampire Dad.
Hi,
Anne. You know what? Okay, so a little slight change of topic, but like I was talking to a coworker a while ago. Oh, okay, it's interesting talking to this coworker who says, I'm not anti-gay. Okay, good. But I'm not pro-gay.
Weird way to begin a conversation.
But, no, let's put it.
I'm not racist,
but I'm totally cool with people being gay. So you can cross the bar of like being a decent human being, but I also don't have a problem with people being anti-gay. Okay, I stopped and said, no, I have a problem with people being that.
Yeah, that's the false equivalency people who I despise. It's like, it's all the same.
ain't a racist, but
right.
I'm okay with Nazis.
However, so why he's not pro-gay is because a few, not many, not the majority, but a few LGBTQI plus activists or advocates would be like trying to like force gayness onto certain properties, as it were. I asked for an example: Star Trek Beyond, Sulu being gay. His
A black guy was once mean to my dad,
there's
therefore
like,
genetically inferior.
There's like one shot of Sulu and his husband. It's like 5 seconds of the movie.
And they're walking away with their kid, and they look like a wonderful, happy threesome.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the fact that anybody got mad at that is
I mean, this is the thing.
Ridiculous.
Anytime you get these people that any representation of knowledge, shoving it down their throats. It's like, no, you say you're a liar. You're like, well, I'm okay with it. Just don't shove it down my throat. Like, no, like
you didn't say that, thankfully. But
I think I mentioned this before. There was an ad. It was two women. They were probably a lesbian couple, but they weren't holding hands. They weren't kissing. They weren't having sex. They're just there together in a shot. Mm-hmm. And that was enough for fucking homophobes to freak the fuck out and like, oh, you're shoving it down my throat. Like, there's two women. They could be sisters for all you know.
They just don't want to ever think about them or see them or hear about them.
They could be pals, right?
They could be pals,
They could be just two random women that happen to be standing next to each other, quite frankly. But
they were communist lesbian Nazis from outer space who want to transfer.
Well, exactly. And they're shoving it down the throat.
Have you never heard of
no? Like, you're a liar. You don't want it. You're against all representation because you literally this wasn't even like explicitly lesbians, and it pissed you off.
But it's people who like, well, it's the same thing that like Republicans do with immigration. Because remember, like back, during the 2016 campaign when Trump was running for the first time, and he was like, oh, I don't have anything against immigrants. It's illegal immigrants. That's what I have a problem with. I just want to make
it's immigrants from shithole countries.
I want to, I just want people to come in legally, right? And then as soon as he gets in, he starts making it more difficult for people to come in legally. And it's like, oh, so maybe it is all the immigrants actually. It's not just the undocumented ones.
And the GOP's been doing that for decades. It's like they always conflate. They start with it because most people will say, well, sure, you should follow the rules, right? But then, but then even the ones like people come here as refugees. Oh, these illegals. Like, no,
that's not illegal.
When I was on vacation, this one person that was in the group I'm in, he's an evangelical Christian, and he's ex-military, watches Fox News all the time.
White evangelical?
And of course.
White supremacist.
And so
isn't that inherent in the description?
Yeah, so he's complaining. Apparently he had no problem getting into Texas. He had a problem getting flights out of Texas. And his excuse was, well, it's because they're flying the quote unquote illegals out, for free, and he's all pissed off about that. And I'm like, first off, no. Secondly, the refugees. I said the refugees are not here illegally. They're refugees. I said if people are documented, they're not here illegally. I mean, literally, that's the whole point. The whole point of documented versus undocumented.
By definition.
By definition. And it's not illegal to come, even if you don't cross at one of the normal border stations. It doesn't matter how you get here. If you're here and you're seeking asylum, that's fucking legal. Right. Secondly, bullshit that you can't get a flight out in the middle of the day because people are being shipped after midnight, because everybody who was being redistributed was being shipped after midnight as to avoid upsetting the schedules. And thirdly, because he was complaining the fact that they're not paying for it. No, we the taxpayer are paying for it. I said, compassion, how terrible. That might be something Christ would do.
Yeah. How dare we pay to send them back to a country?
And you know what? The alternative is we can just let them stay. Well, and then there wouldn't be any issue with
see, that shut him the fuck up, because again, he loves to act like he's all Christian and everything. I'm like, we would want to do something like Jesus. Oh, Christian. Oh, wait a second. No, not Christians, really? I'm an atheist, and I'm like, Jesus.
I'm pretty sure Jesus would lynch someone. I mean,
Jesus hated everybody. That's all over the Bible.
So for lynching, he let himself be lynched. I mean,
and this is what I don't know if you're familiar with Bishop Lazar. He's a Eastern Orthodox Christian bishop in Canada, and he's really cool. He's like, he's pro LGBTQ. He was like one of the first clergy I've ever saw that was basically like not a trans denier, saying, transgenderism is real and you got to accept people. And so he's really cool. And he has said a number of times, like, what makes atheists are Christians. And it's basically, it's true. That's what drove me out of the church was when I started seeing people, they taught me all this cool stuff. And then all these people didn't live by any of it. And I'm like, oh, these people are fucked up. I got to get out of here.
We don't need God.
Wasn't it Isaac Asimov who said that properly read the Bible is the greatest argument for atheism ever written?
Yeah. There's that popular expression.
That's what
the road to atheism is paved with Bibles.
Yeah, right.
Or littered with Bibles.
Geek, your hand is up.
And back to the story of my coworker who has problem with Zulu being gay. Reason why, Jordan Burns mentioned in the live chat, George Sakai says that Zulu isn't gay, but my coworker's explanation was that the Kelvinverse movie crew is the same crew as the TOC when the time split, except the time split at a certain point. Right. So if the time didn't split, they would have been just like the TOS. And thus, Zulu's not gay because Zulu wasn't gay into TOS. Thus, Kelvin versus Zulu can't be gay. Thus, the gay agenda.
Wait, whoa. How do we know though Zulu is either hetero or homosexual from what we see in TOS?
Here's my counter argument. Here's my counter argument, and it's tough to follow, but I'll try to talk slow. My counter argument is there is no Sulu. He's a made-up person. So if Sulu in Star Trek Beyond is gay, then he's gay.
Right.
Yes.
Period.
He also brought up how George Takei says Sulu's not gay. But I say Decay, sorry. But I say George Takei does not own Sulu. He played the character in TOS by John Cho in the Kelvinverse movies, and that's a different character and different interpretation.
And we don't really listen to William Shatner's opinions on Kirk anymore. So
I'm pretty sure his coworker does.
We never saw Sulu in the original series do anything blatantly heterosexual. Not once. He never talked about dating anybody or women or nothing.
No,
nothing about TOS is heterosexual,
and that is very masculine and heterosexual.
The thing is, if you want to have the argument of what is the best way to achieve representation of underrepresented groups, I mean, is it better to create new characters who are gay from the beginning, or to reveal that previous characters have been gay all along? We're that's a good discussion to have, but the point is, whether it's the best way to handle it or not, Sulu's totally gay in Star Trek Beyond.
Once you get to Beyond, there's no argument.
Steve, your video about what's canon and what isn't canon.
Yeah.
The thing you don't understand about these fanboys is they think you're not supposed to enjoy anything that isn't canon. It has to be canon in order to be valid. So that's why, when Disney declared, all the expanded universe stuff, this Legends continuity that, wasn't going to be canon with the movies anymore. Yeah. That's why people got so upset about that, because they thought saying that they're not allowed to enjoy those stories anymore. Or at least if they do, it doesn't count. Well, and I guess that's why people get obsessed about that stuff.
Here's the real truth, though. These people that are complaining, they're not fanboys, and how you can tell, because when they make arguments that are factually trumped by any of the canon stuff. So, for instance, my favorite one was because people didn't like Brie Larson because Brie Larson said girl power or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So all these people had to come up with some bullshit excuses to hate on her. So they were like, "Oh, this is the agenda because they're making Captain Marvel a woman." Captain Marvel has been a woman on and off for 42 fucking years. Right.
Yeah.
42 fucking years. And by the way, the first female Captain Marvel was a black woman. Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel. Not Danvers has only existed for 12 to 13 years. So actually, if they actually did what was canon to the comic book, they would have had a black Captain Marvel. And just imagine the fucking meltdown from those people.
Yeah. Again, my God, Black Panther!
Marvel was an alien and he was a man. He was male. I'm like, yeah. And the fact that you only know that tells me you know dick about Captain Marvel, because you've not touched it in at least 40 some years.
Well, it's funny. These are the types who say, just make your own diverse characters. And then when a manga came along, fairly recently, that has a black girl as the protagonist, these same people lost their minds. It's like, oh, I see. You never wanted to see anyone like that.
Yeah, when Miss Marvel got a show.
Well, Ray, yeah, exactly. Ms. Marvel has always been Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
Or here's it, Ray and Finn in the Star Wars sequel series. And here's the thing, I didn't like those movies, but actually I like those characters. I kind of feel that the actors were let down by bad writing, but the thing is like, so these are brand new characters. They weren't gender changing or sexual orientation changing or anything to anybody, and they still fucking freaked the fuck out before them, just from trailer, the first trailer. So we didn't even know what the movie was going to contain, and they were flipping the fuck out then.
There were people who, soon in that first Force Awakens trailer, from the moment that Finn takes off his helmet and you see that he's black, there were people that lost their minds because they were like, "Oh God, here we go."
The Force Awakens.
They're like, aren't they all clones? And like, all those clones are dead because they age super fast, and they started conscripting normal guys.
It's like you haven't seen the movie. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you're seeing, scenes completely out of context for a trailer. You have no idea what the movie is. You're complaining because there's a black guy in it.
Steve, what you're dealing with here are what I call ouch cubes. They have been they've either programmed themselves or been programmed to react to anything that is not basically as sterile, father knows best, Donna Reed, whatever have you. That this is their, this is what they hang on. These are the people who want to promote Christian nationalism. They want to promote, white Christian America, the whole 9 yards. And they are really coming to the foreground lately. It's interesting because I actually wrote Joe Biden not very long after he was inaugurated about the whole issue of Christian nationalism and how blatantly, screamingly evident it was on January 6th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as Wonder Woman says, Mother, there is no reasoning with Nazis.
Something I wanted to, I'll let Isaiah speak.
Yeah, Isaiah and Sirius have their hands up. So Isaiah, go for it.
I was saying, I wasn't saying it, but I was thinking if I met like a person, like an Indian person or a Pakistani person, their last name was Khan, would they get mad if I screamed?
I'm sure they've never heard that before. I'm sure they've never heard that from an American before.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you come up to me and you go, "Hey Joe, where you go with that gun in your hand?" I'm
heard it. Damn, what?
That's not where I would have gone. I would have come. I don't think I have. Oh yeah, I do. I would say, "Hey, I have something for your eyes."
Yeah.
That's.
I like that. I like that. I literally was like, I happen to have a prop.
A whole bunch. So
the only reason I would ever want to see a friend of mine coming out of a gun store would be if my friend was named Joe and I could say that to them. That would be the only reason I would ever want to see that.
That's not true. That's not.
You don't want them to respond like the character responds in the song, though.
No. Oh, that's true. Oh, wait a minute.
That's not true, Steve, because I'm confident that you would want people to, you would support people if there was a gun buyback program. Now, these people, your friends, hopefully would not have guns, but they might be so thoughtful that they would go and visit their neighbors and say, "Hey, I'll take the guns to the buyback program for you, and I'll bring you the money."
So I see my friend Joe going on his way to a buyback, and then I say, "Hey Joe, where are you going with that gun in your hand?" And he says, "Oh, I'm going to there's a federally funded buyback program, and I'm going to take it."
Hey, if I ever get that opportunity, I will do that for you, Steve.
I would love that. I would love that. I just anyway, go ahead.
That kind of
so the thing is, I've got to be real quick about this the Stormtroopers and clones deal. It's clear to me, and I've pointed this out to multiple people, that the Stormtroopers by A New Hope are already not clones.
Yeah.
If you remember the conversation, there's when Obi-Wan is going to the power, to turn off the power junction, and there's the two guys talking to each other. He says, "Hey, and you seen that new BT-16?" He says, "Yeah, some of the other guys were telling me about it."
What's going on here? I don't know. Maybe not.
So they're not automatons. These are just a couple of dudes having a conversation. So they're not clones anymore. Yeah. But the other thing.
Hey, the clones were people too. They were individuals prequels with personalities, you motherfucker.
If you watch the Clone Wars
This is clone erasure.
Watch the Clone Wars cartoon. It's amazing. Right. It totally revitalizes the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, here on just real quick about guns. So I had an argument with a guy about a year ago, and he's like, I was putting forth a very anti-gun position. And he was like, yeah, but how could you defend yourself? And I'm like, dude, I'm in my 50s. I've never, ever needed to shoot anybody. Not once. I live in New Jersey where you guys think it's so scary. Like, yeah. So either the threat's not real and you guys are a bunch of big pussies.
Or the problem is with you.
Or you live in really shitty places and need to move, or maybe think secondly, think in another way about your state's policy, because maybe that's why the place is so shitty that you feel you need to, be packing heat to go, buy butter at the Safeway.
Hoboken is an apocalyptic
wasteland. Fights with people.
Or maybe owning a weapon and basically having that attitude, encourages circumstances where you feel like maybe you're going to have to use it, whether you have to use it or not.
If the only tool you have
and fewer people will want to shoot.
Yeah. If the only tool you have is a gun, every problem looks like a target.
It's back to Star Wars. You have to have a gun. What if someday you go to a school?
Back to Star Wars. back to Star Wars.
What are you going to do? Okay, back to Star Wars.
Back Empire Strikes Back. Luke feels coldness, as it were. He asks Yoda, what is there? Only what you take with you. He took his lightsaber, and that's why he saw an image of Vader and had to fight him, realizing that he could be Vader too. With he brings his weapon or fights.
Okay, that's dumb because he also he ain't naked. He take his clothes with him.
But Yoda tells him. Yoda specifically tells him. Yoda specifically tells him, your weapons, you will not need them, and he's like, "Fuck you, Yoda," and he takes them anyway because Luke
he thinks he knows better.
That's the thing. I love Luke. He's my favorite character in Star Wars. But anybody who complains about how Luke is characterized in the sequel trilogy has forgotten that Luke is a dumbass. He always has been. He's a big. I love him, but he's a huge dumbass who acts before he thinks. And people are like, I can't believe he activated his lightsaber for a moment, and he was gonna threaten Kylo with it. Have we seen the same movies? Because that totally seems like something dumbass Luke Skywalker would do.
And Yoda calls him on it. Yoda calls him on it in the last film, the Last Jedi, or the one after.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah. He's throwing his little temper tantrum, and Yoda says, "Oh my God!"
We're used to seeing characters that are in that position, and we're used to seeing them grow past it. And Luke just doesn't. Luke continues to be human and make mistakes. Imagine that.
Yeah, he acts before he thinks, and then he kind of stops himself and goes, "Oh shit, what am I doing?" And he tries to pull it back. Like Luke does that repeatedly throughout the show.
There is growth, there is realization.
Yeah,
but he doesn't somehow ascend to some higher. I mean, I guess he does eventually.
Yes, he did.
Literally, but
he literally does. But
he doesn't become some sort of enlightened human being. He's still fully human, and he continues to screw up.
Yeah.
And I think that actually makes him a stronger character.
I agree.
So just a couple of things before I forget. Okay, so the Skywalker Saga game, that new Lego game that is like all 9 movies. It is so darn funny. The writing and humor are straight out of Airplane or like a Mel Brooks movie. It's that cool. Kind. Like there's so many gags thrown in constantly. Like when Padme has to, do the whole speech to Boss Nass and she gets on one knee, a frog jumps in the way, so she squishes it, but she has to keep doing the speech like nothing happened. But then there's skits like when Luke finds out the truth, he's like, "So Leia's my sister?" And even R2 starts like blurring this alarm thing, and so Luke he's totally grossed out, and he reacts more realistically than he does in the movie. It's great.
That's awesome.
But I was also wondering, is it okay to talk about the Kenobi series?
I would love to talk about the Kenobi series.
I've seen it. It was okay. I didn't think it was that terrific, but
I mean,
it wasn't perfect. It had some narrative flaws, but I thought
there were certain flaws.
The one thing I was kind of relieved about was I half expected Reva to die. Because it was like that whole thing about revenge is a hell of a motivator. I figured she was going to succumb to the fist-sized hole in her stomach, from that lightsaber as soon as she spared Luke. Like her hatred was the only thing keeping her going that long. but then she doesn't die. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess she's better. All right. We'll see what other stories they write about her now.
Lightsabers don't kill
they're
people.
not going to write any more stories about her. She's
Lightsaber.
a black woman. She's not allowed.
Lightsabers don't kill people. What are you? Are you crazy? Lightsabers.
No, come on.
Lightsabers don't kill anybody.
Lightsabers don't kill people. People with lightsabers don't kill people.
Ewan McGregor as Kenobi, because we get to see him just act like a normal dude who's going through depression. But what really sucks to me is how bad people's comprehension is. You know, like their ability to interpret things. Because they see him saying, like, I wish I could say I was your father. They think, oh, that means he had the hots for Padme. What a pervert. It's like, no, it just means he wishes he could tell her what she wants to hear. That it could be that easy, so she wouldn't have to one day find out what a monster her actual father is.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh yeah, the actual portrayal of Obi-Wan in the show is fine. And Ewan McGregor is terrific. Like that's the problematic part of the whole thing. I thought he was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the you know, and this is one of the things that made me think about, Steve, how you always talk about, you know, the storytelling versus canon.
Yes.
You know, I had very mixed feelings with the Vader interaction with Obi-Wan, because I think it was kind of cool. It was a little hammy though.
Yeah.
And
which
so I was like,
the whole time, or any specific?
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole time it was kind of hammy.
Yeah.
And the other thing too,
Anakin's always been a drama queen. Come on.
Yeah, well, the thing is though, is that the way that they've, it's really more of like, I think, you know, I was willing to, like, you know, let canon go, you know, for the sake of, you know, cool storytelling. I feel like people who wrote this did not understand Darth Vader, because they kind of turned it. He was a lot more like Kylo Ren, and like being a maniac. I mean, Vader was a cold, cool, calculated killer, not a maniac.
This is kind of like halfway between 3 and 4, so you could say that he's still growing up in a way, becoming, you know, Darth Vader. And by the end of it,
they actually made a point. If you go to TV tropes, they talk about that a lot. Vader is ordinarily cool, calm, and collected, and almost never loses his temper, never flies off into a rage. His hatred is more directed toward himself.
Sorry, I may have to get going.
I like the idea that this is the exception. This is Obi-Wan. This is deeply personal. He's losing his shit.
I'm sorry.
And that's why the Emperor has to go.
Go ahead, Nick.
I'm sorry. I may have to get going soon.
Even after that. So I don't know if that's a great point.
Let Nick go. Let Nick go.
Sorry.
Nick has to go soon.
Nick.
Okay. Okay. So people got mad about that first fight, because, like, what the heck? This is the big showdown we've been waiting for. I'm like, no, that was just round 1. This is for these guys who talk about, you know, good storytelling. They don't seem to know much about it. Like, this is barely out of the first act. This is just a cat tormenting a mouse it just caught. The actual fight is gonna come later. And oh, look at that, it did. Like, how do people not get stuff this basic? But I gotta say, I love the moment you could see Hayden Christensen through the helmet, because even watching the prequels, the best moments, you know, people used to think he was a bad actor, but that's because he was reading George Lucas's dumb script. The best moments in those movies, especially episode 3, were when he could just make a scary face and act physically. You know, and we got some of that here, you know, when he says, "You didn't kill him, I did." That freaking smile. And like, how has this guy not played slasher villains in other movies yet?
He's a good actor.
He has in Canada.
He's a good actor.
Yeah. He has in Canada.
Like this series Star Wars turned him into a horror movie monster. You know, like that scene where Obi-Wan just hallucinates him in the distance, like the monster in it follows. And just the idea that the entire time behind those glass lenses, he's just like I don't know. It really made him scary.
I'm so mad, you guys.
He can hide his expression. And he gets used to it, like Murderbot.
Hey, there you go. Oh, they can see my face. Okay,
anyway, I don't like that.
All right, so Lauren, your hand's been up for forever, so go for it.
Yeah, I don't know about forever, but one thing, talking about series that I think are really worth watching. Who here has seen and enjoyed as much as I did The Old Man? I thought it is some of the best writing I have seen of that nature in a long time. B, Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow just turned it in.
I
It
heard
was 7
watched it.
episodes.
I haven't seen it yet.
I thought, isn't that what we're watching right now? I mean, come on.
I haven't
just,
watched
like,
it.
look
I
at
haven't
who's in the
watched it.
chat.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it yet. So
It's
Dana,
a
I heard that
political
joke.
it's a political thriller, and in my humble opinion, a damned good one.
yeah,
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet, but I want to check it out because it does
No,
look pretty
knowing
good.
that John Lithgow and Jeff Bridges are in it, I've never heard of
That's-
it before, but now I want to watch it. Yeah,
totally,
that's,
right?
that's enough for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isaiah, your hand's
Isaiah.
up next.
Yeah, okay. So I want to just show you guys two things, just like some of the artwork and stuff I've been doing.
Mhm.
If that's okay.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of days ago, I got this.
Oh yeah. You were talking about that. Yes, that is
Kind of
a-
headful.
That's a ship engine's lamp. Yeah. So just like in like Titanic, ding, ding.
Yeah, it's a ship's telegraph, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
It lights up.
Big honking thing. Yes.
Oh, jeez. How cool is that?
So there's that.
Mhm.
I guess I'm a huge nerd. And then speaking of Titanic,
Mhm.
I told Steve that I thought
Yeah.
about, I thought about like that sketch that Jack did with Rose, and I used
Family friendly.
Jesse Jenner's thumbnail from her Sex and Star Trek video, and I just
Oh, boy.
did my fan
Hey,
each drawing,
some cheesecake.
Yes.
and I'm gonna mail that to her hopefully. So
Some fan art incoming.
All right, Dana, your hand
that's
is up.
it. That's it.
I just wanted to, we're getting towards the end of the hour here, and I just wanted to say tomorrow's the big day. We start school.
Back to school.
Oh yeah.
What?
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's pretty early,
I
isn't
will
it?
say I do.
Yeah,
I
it is.
appreciate. I like that. I mean, we have a 180-day school year, same as I think most districts do.
Yeah. We have it.
But I like that. The reason we start so early is twofold. I like that we have more breaks during the school year. Like we never had fall break. We never had any fall break at all. You had Labor Day, and then it was a stretch until Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so we have a whole week off in October. And then we have a week off for Thanksgiving, and then we have 2 weeks between semesters. And then we have usually we'll have an extra day with President's Day. So there's like a teacher work day there. So it's a little bit of an extended weekend, 4 days for students, 3 days for teachers. And then we often get a teacher work day and an extra day off in February. So it's, a more extended holiday for what they call winter break for that's President's Day in January. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then we have a whole week off, usually splitting March and April. Whereas when I was in school in Pennsylvania, we usually were lucky to get Good Friday as well as Easter Monday off. And I kind of wish we could have a little bit more towards the end of the year, but I understand that's difficult because of, required standardized testing. But, then we make it through, we're done by Memorial Day. Sometimes like teachers often have to come back a few days after Memorial Day to make sure that grades are entered correctly and sign off on stuff and clean up your rooms and things like that. But then, you're done. And other teachers are talking about how, we still have 3 more weeks. And I'm just like,
upside down.
Yeah.
We're done. I'm not going to say too much, but now, I've been out for 2 months, and I'm looking forward to going back. And I'm so glad that we have those little breaks during the year. So going back is a little bit, okay, how's it going to go? But,
Is it better being a teacher in Georgia or Florida?
What did you say?
Is it better being
Which is better for being a teacher, Georgia or Florida?
Because I know
I have not taught in Florida, so I can't say for certain.
And they can't say gay.
So it's even. So it's basically
my money is on Florida being the worst. Yeah.
I don't
always bet on Florida to be worse.
I don't. Well, Florida will certainly be warmer, but it's air conditioned inside, so I'm good. I really
don't think that was the concern. I don't think the quality of the climate control was the concern there, but
more like who's sitting in the governor's mansion.
There are 2 Georgia state bills that have recently been passed. One is the parents' right to information, And then the other one is
mandatory reporting to out kids.
The controversial issues. So that's kind of the equivalent of Don't Say Gay, only it goes a little bit broader.
If you include critical race theory and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, not just that, but also, you know, how we deal with social and emotional learning, as well as how we deal with sexuality and gender and any issues pertaining to that.
Right.
I believe you mean making kids weak and making them gay.
Yeah. You don't deal with it, I think, is their preference.
No. But also, John, don't forget, I'm making kids question.
Right.
Also not okay.
You don't ever want to interfere with whatever they've installed.
Exactly.
Yes.
So teaching kids history instead of myth.
It's really
you try to make my kids
interesting
think.
to see how it plays out, because the thing is, if you don't get parent complaints, you're good. But if you do, then it's not good. So we'll see how it.
Whatever you don't want to interfere with whatever the parents installed.
Yeah, exactly.
For George Washington, he was the father of our country, and that was it. Don't say anything else about him. He owned
slaves. He owned slaves.
No, damn it! No, now the kids know.
He had wooden teeth. He didn't have dentures taken from the teeth of slaves. No,
they were made of wood, John. They were made of wood. You know this.
Definitely didn't put in his will that his slaves would be transferred over to his wife. He didn't have to follow his promise that he was going to free all of his slaves when he died.
Well, it's gender equality.
George Washington would never break a promise.
He was trying to be the father of our country, literally.
He was.
No, that actually went to Thomas Jefferson.
Are you telling me he didn't actually throw that silver dollar across the river too? Because I just don't think I could take that if that wasn't true.
I thought he baked a cherry pie. Charming Billy.
Well, why do you think he chopped down the damn cherry tree in the first place?
He chopped down a cherry tree and he baked a pie, and the coin was in the pie, and then he threw the entire pie across the river like a frisbee.
Oh, see, no.
Had a
that's
slave
not okay.
to knock out
That's
its
not
teeth
okay.
so that he could get it.
You don't throw a pie.
But see, when he chopped down the tree, the Lorax intercepted him. And
just a second, George.
Okay,
George, is that the most effective way to harvest cherries?
Yes. Wait, he threw the pie out the window, the second story window, high, low, low, high, threw out the window.
Even Lily knows that that's wrong.
It's not cool.
Oh,
it's not cool.
This is Miss Lily.
A waste of pie.
Lily.
She's like, who's wasting pie?
Lily, I'm right there with you.
She's got a bit of a sweet tooth, just like Blitzen did.
Right, 4 minutes left of the hangout.
Would you like to, if anybody, last thoughts from anybody, and then my unofficial producer can start dropping.
Okay, I had the charity, not the charity links. Well, charity links. One of the promotions is like charitylinks.page, because this is still July 31st, and July is Disability Pride Month. However, the queers have said like, no, Pride's canceled. We having Wrath. It's Disability Wrath Month this month. But it's, many of the people in charitylinks.page happen to be disabled and queer, so please consider giving to like a charitylinks.page. It's already down in the description, and I'll add it to the live chat too. But of course, go through the other plugs. I will start with that one last, actually. Nick Anderson has a comic, Planet Ripple. Check out planetripple.com to read the first volume of it for free. If you a couple more from Nick Anderson. If you like his Nick Anderson works, you can support him on Patreon. Nick Anderson, if you don't want Amazon, where you can buy Planet Ripple volumes, but you can buy them off of itch.io. That's a good way to support Nick that way. He also has a YouTube channel where he does like reviews or videos about like Legos and other things like that. And so you can check out that. Now, who else has a YouTube channel? I'll go with like Serious Minded next, but like Serious Minded can go like after like I'm done with the pitches. Serious Minded has a YouTube channel. Dana Cole has a YouTube channel, so check out Dana Cole there. Check out Serious Minded. Isaiah Taylor also has like a YouTube channel, Serious Intelligence. But if you like some of the things that like Isaiah Taylor also show off, you can check out his Instagram at Cult Culture 92 on Instagram, so that you can see some of the cool things that like he posts and does and cosplays and like model ships and all that sort of stuff. And then I have my own YouTube channel, I have my own Twitch channel, and I have my own Twitter. That's where I post most often. John Brockman's a part of another podcast, Dungeons and Debacles. Heck of a lot of fun, totally different than this and like other things. As I go and check out Dungeons and Debacles. And one last thing, Matthew Thatcher was like joined us at the pre-show, like, but he reads audiobooks at the so you can check out the audiobooks like there. Serious Minded has his hand up, so like I'll let Serious Minded goes with like something he wants to promote. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, serious mind, not minded.
I always do this. Sorry.
A lot of people do.
Although you are very serious minded as well.
Well, that's true. That is true. So, well, I was thinking when we were talking about, Washington, it made me think of, while we're on the subject of, genocidal people who get way too much credit, made me think of Christopher Columbus, and that made me think one thing that I think is important. I know because I thought of this the other day. I was in a weird, kind of angry mood. I think everyone here is on the left to some degree, right? We all are. That's why we're here. Our ire at what happened or has happened and is still happening to the indigenous people of North and South America should not end with Indigenous People Day and getting rid of Columbus statues. Because the only time I ever really hear anything is, Thanksgiving and
probably October the 12th.
And Columbus Day. And if that's all we ever do, that's performative in and of itself. And we, the fact that the indigenous peoples are still getting screwed over, they still do not have full sovereignty over their own land. They've been shunted to the worst possible land. The U.S. government and the Canadian government are still in abeyance of multiple treaties. So we need to be pushing for those things as well. To whatever extent that those can be ameliorated, we should do so and not just do performative shit, because that gets under my fingernails.
Land back.
Land back.
Land back. But one final pitch is social justice alchemy. We're going later on, and like about an hour will be the next social justice alchemy, and we have passed a milestone. We're at episode 200, and our guest today is the one and only Steve Shives, who graciously is like giving his time. Yes, you, Steve Shives. Speaking of which, Isaiah's going to be there. John Brown was, of course, going to be there. I will, of course, be there. Joe McCoy, of course, be in the live chat. So come and check us out. So it's just as alchemy. But Steve, what other things that is coming up next this week that people can look forward to on the Steve Shives channel? And how can we support you as well?
Well, you can if anybody who is in this call with me right now is, of course, either a patron or a channel member, and you can become one of those by going to patreon.com/Steve Shives or becoming a member by clicking on the join button. This coming week, I have a video going up tomorrow about whether or not it's okay for Americans to be proud of our history. Spoiler alert, it's complicated.
Isn't it always?
It's complicated. Yes. And then actually on Wednesday, I have a video that I'm working on today and tomorrow to get it ready. Another video about one of my favorite episodes of MacGyver. So I was reminded of when Lauren was talking earlier about all of his work experience. I was like, oh, it sounds like MacGyver. MacGyver has quite a diverse resume as well. So it's about the Nazi episode of MacGyver, where MacGyver stops the Nazis from taking back over. And wouldn't it have been nice if that's how it actually went in real life?
Well, Steve, as it comes to my work experience and all of that, I mean, you know what my handle is, troubleshooter. And then that's what I did for 30 years. I was a problem solver. I was the guy who had to go in, find out what the problem was, and attempt. Bang, he shot me down.
I shot the trouble.
And that's what MacGyver was.
Except he was way better than I am, but mostly because he read the script.
That's true. Yes, that's right.
Were you in Ireland? You said the Troubles. So.
The Troubles.
It's interesting because I was actually in Northern Ireland maybe 6 months after they resolved that. And interesting. Interesting story. I was in there. Seagate has this huge facility in Derry. And I was going in there to install a system and do some training. And it was neat because, I mean, I go out to dinner or go to a bar and, and have a Guinness. Parenthetically, you haven't lived until you've had Guinness in Ireland. And somebody would hear my either accent or lack of accent, whatever you want to call it, says, "Oh, you're American. What are you doing here?" And I'm installing a system for Seagate. They would go through the roof. It was terrific. Why? One word: jobs. Those guys were so hungry for jobs. It was scary. But Seagate just represented such opportunity and such a change for them. I can't even begin to tell you.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's it, everybody. I'm ending the show.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, everybody. And I will see you on Social Justice Alchemy in less than an hour or so. So thanks for watching, everybody.